All right, well, welcome everyone to our, this is a very important quarterly meeting. We're really going to, you'll hear why in the introduction. After our introductions, which what I'd like everyone to do is in chat, if you would please share your name, your title and affiliation. I think most of you know who I am. I'm Olivia Hereford. I am one of the regional directors for the ICT digital media sector. And on behalf of the Bay Area Community College Consortium. So if you would all introduce yourselves in chat, we'll give everybody a few minutes to do that while I go over what we hope to accomplish today. One of the things that that is impact, or basically that is driving the agenda for this meeting is that the Bay Area Community College Consortium is going through some reorganization, and this reorganization is based upon the overall region's priorities, and we'll share that with you. And in response to this reorganization and their priorities, our BayICT team, which is composed of me and Ray Kaup and a couple of contractors. Dan Montoya is with us here today, and we have the help from Lauren Tabata, who does an incredible job on our BayICT website and social media. And so we're looking at, how are we going to do the work going forward to sustain what we've done so far, and hopefully expand it and scale it. So because of this reorganization and changes, we have to prioritize that, because one of the things you'll find, it may be difficult for us to do it all. So we are seeking your input about what you think is important as input. So let's start with the, well, I did the agenda. So regional priorities, our reorganization, our focus area and objectives. We're gonna open it up for any questions about the work that we're doing. And then once you're clear and you've got your questions answered about our objectives and our focus areas, we've got a form, a process that we will be doing at the toward the last half of the call, maybe even, last item on the call is for you to give us that feedback on how we should prioritize our work. And then if any other things come up, we'll go over any actions and next steps. So the Bay Area Community College Consortium, for those of you who don't know, the Bay Area Community College Consortium represents the 28 colleges in the Bay Area. And those colleges are broken down into 5 subregions, which I'll show you what those look like in a coming slide. So one of the things, the big changes in our organization is a new focus on sub-regional collaboration, not sectors, but regional. And the reason why is that our regions across the Bay Area regions across the Bay Area are very different in their workforce development needs. You're gonna have really different requirements maybe down in the Monterey Bay Area region versus the East Bay versus the Peninsula, which is very heavy tech. And then you have the northern region. So the thought was, and then you have large and medium employers there that are hiring across sectors. So they're not just hiring IT folks, they're hiring all kinds of people from different disciplines from our programs. So they felt that developing a sub-regional approach to workforce development and career ed might be more effective in connecting our students into work opportunities. The next area or next priority that the region has is doing better in connecting our K-14 career pathways. In other words, starting that pipeline into these careers earlier, even down to middle school. So we're wanting to do a better job at doing that. The other thing, the second priority is faster response to workforce development partnership and short-term training. For the last couple for the last 2 years, particularly during COVID and then coming out of COVID, one of the things that we were really looking at is how do we, with the mass resignation going on and people looking at doing different things and responding quickly to the job needs, we started developing short-term programs. That means the programs that are a semester or less in completion, very kind of boot camp, intense series of classes that end up with students getting either industry certifications or the skills that they need to go out and pursue, high demand jobs. So we want to do a focus on that. And we were really hearing that message very strongly from our workforce development partners, the workforce development boards, and some of the community organizations that do workforce development. So we have been working with those partners in looking at how we develop those types of programs. And then the fourth priority is collaboration and coordination in critical occupations, skills, occupational clusters, and sectors. Basically, that is what BayICT, the BayICT partnership is all about, this fourth priority. So I would appreciate all of you being members and contributing to this partnership, because that is really an important priority for the region. And then obviously most important, we're all about our students, and we're all about them getting the training, getting the experience, and getting on-ramps into living wage and high demand jobs. So career services, work-based learning, and apprenticeships is a priority. And then also diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. So these are the published and espoused priorities of the Bay Area Community College Consortium. So why the reorganization? The impetus comes from the California Community College Chancellor's Office. The way our program, our employer engagement, work-based learning, all of those priorities, the way they had been done in the past was through a network of regional directors. So at the state level, there was a statewide director for ICT digital media. And then each of these 7 regions had regional directors for those particular sectors. And these roles were for all of up to 10 to 11 priority sectors, depending upon the region. So, here in the Bay Area, obviously some of the key sectors are IT and digital media, healthcare, advanced manufacturing, advanced transportation and logistics. And at the time, there was also regional directors for agriculture, business entrepreneurship, retail, hospitality, facilities. So it really depended upon the region to determine what sectors they wanted to put regional directors in place to be responsible for employer engagement. But also it would change again, depending upon the region. Well, the Chancellor's Office said, nah, we don't want to lead this. We don't want this responsibility anymore. We want to push it down for the regions to decide how they meet these needs. And as a result, they got rid of all of the statewide directors and actually kind of gave each of the regions a subtle message saying, we want to see something new. So anyway, so they took these changes to what we call the BACC college partners. Each one of the colleges assigns a person to provide input and the decisions from their perspective. So there are 28 college partners, And they come together and they hashed out this reorganization was actually um, um, initiated last, I think it was summer or spring or summer of 2021. And we've been talking about it and trying to figure it out for almost a year now. And we finally come into this new structure that we're just beginning to implement. But all of the decisions are driven by the colleges, not the BACCC. That BACCC just does what they're directed to do. The key changes are there is an emphasis, as I mentioned before, on sub-regional employer engagement. And I explained to you why. They feel it'd be better to just cover the region and not focus so much on any particular sector. But as a result, that meant to do that, we had to reduce the number of regional directors. And so we've come down from 10, I believe, regional directors down to 5. And there used to be in the old structure, there were 2 regional directors for ICT digital media, myself and Ray Kaup. Okay. With the new structure to begin on July 1, there will only be 1 regional director. And this is what the organization looks like. So we have sub-regional directors for the 5 regions. The East Bay will have 2, and that's solely based upon the number of colleges in the East Bay region. Okay, is the reason why they have 2 and the others only have 1. And then you have the 5 sector-focused directors, and we are adding a new one. There will be a new role for a regional director for public safety. Then there will be 2 generalists, and I wish I could tell you what their roles would be, but they are still actually kind of finalizing the definitions of these new roles. And by that, I mean the sub-regional directors and these generalists. We know what the sector-focused regional directors will be doing is what they've always been doing. And then there will be a new role. Sorry, there is another new role under regional directors, the one for short-term training and partnerships. And that is covering that new priority to do these upskilling, reskilling programs. And we also have had for about a year and a half, we've had a regional director for apprenticeships. So I'm going to stop there and see if anyone has any questions about the changes in the organization. Okay, so we'll move on.
Yep, we're all good.
Okay. All right. So, knowing that it's going to be tough for 1 regional director to do the job of 2, what Ray and I hope Ray will be able to join later. I don't see him yet, but what Ray and I are thinking is that the regional director could lead and support a project-based approach to cover the focus area. We have broken down our work into 4 focus areas. Top priority and most important to us is this partnership, the BayICT partnership. Then the other focus area is sector awareness. I mean, there's a lot of the things that when I'm talking to students and employers, a lot of times they're either the students aren't aware of the careers and either the employers are not aware of our programs. So I think one of the important things that we need to do is address that branding issue, for lack of better words. And then another important area is the faculty and program support. Really important, as Steve and I were chatting before I started recording the call, is that getting input from things like, for instance, the expectation in cybersecurity, the expectations that you have programming, some kind of a programming skill, Python or whatever for scripting. When we hear that from employers, we then have to go back to our programs and make sure that those skills are being addressed. So that is what we mean by faculty support. And then also the full program support, as far as you'll see a little bit more about how we connect industry around education, connecting them to partners here in the BayICT partnership. So again, that area, very important to all of the region's sectors, is supporting our faculty and program. And then we have regional joint projects. These are projects that come up that are allow us to actually be a lot more responsive than our typical processes will allow us to be. And we'll share with you a little bit about some of those projects that are going on. So these are the focus areas. So what I'd like to do in the next 4 slides is to go over what we are doing. What are the objectives under each of those focus areas? What do they entail? Well, most of you being already members of the partnership, you know that one of the, I think the most, exciting things for me that I see happening with this partnership is connecting our partners, as all of our stakeholders, into collaboration that will work toward achieving the goals that we have in common around workforce development and social change. I mean, some of the examples that we talked about in our last meeting around how we, connecting next gen with Love Never Fails, okay? Connecting merit with Love Never Fails, because they're teaching courses at Love Never Fails IT Biz Institute that students can get merit course credit for. We connect next gen cyber talent to the cyber program at City College so that they can do 2 things. Train those students who are interested in being considered for internships in SOCs, Security Operations Centers. Also connect students. Next Gen Talent has this incredible vision that no cybersecurity student in our community colleges should have to pay for their courses or to go to college. So they're giving them completion incentive grants. But these things all come about by connecting our partners. So this is really key, because I really think it allows us to scale what we work, scale the work that we do. And I really think that it also sets a precedent. It shows that, working together and collaborating helps us all reach these goals of getting our students and skill builders into living wage jobs, closing the workforce talent gaps, and creating equitable on-ramps. Because a lot of times for our students and our underserved students, some of the traditional ways of getting into these jobs have not worked as well. So we need to take a look at how we do a better job of that. But I really think it's the partnership and connecting our members in bringing their programs and activities together that help us both meet our goals. The other thing that the partnership allows us to do is, you all give us tips and introductions to other folk in this space, and we can begin and identify engaging those new partners. So for example, one of the new partnerships I'm very excited about is with Bitwise. So, and we're still working on how we're going to connect our programs. They just sent me some really exciting news about what's going on at Bakersfield College that I think that we can replicate up here. So those are the kind of things that the partnership allows us to do. The BayICT partnership number 3 is starting to get some notoriety, and people are starting to come to us to connect with our partners, to ask us to come and participate in grants as a means of reaching some of our partners. So we're starting to become known, and people know that they can come, and we have a really nice ecosystem of workforce development partners. And as I mentioned before, the partnership, U.S. employers, U.S. workforce development organizations tell us what we should be doing as far as preparing our students for the jobs that we expect to see grow and expand or become in higher demand over the next year to 2 years. Because as y'all know, that's sometimes how long it takes us to update our curriculum. So if we can get a heads up on what the trends are, we can start informing our faculty and programs on what we need to do to enhance our programs. But then I think the fun thing and the most important thing I enjoy doing in this work is connecting our professionals and organizations and employers in work-based learning opportunities. Again, like NextGen and the internships and Bitwise, but that's what we're looking at there. Working with organizations like Cyversity that bring in and introduce our students to mentors. So these connecting our students to get this experience they need to get into the job, this partnership has just been invaluable. So under the area of sector focus, sector awareness, again, if y'all haven't seen the BayICT.org website, check it out. I mean, it's just incredible the work that Lauren has done in putting that together, where students can come and learn about resources, events, training. Faculty can come and learn about and get information about curriculum from industry, communities of practice. We facilitate our info sessions and tech talks through this channel and promote them, and we archive them. And hopefully, if you haven't checked out the tech talks, they're all archived on the site. We post jobs. We post information about internships, about career events. All of this is what is making BayICT.org kind of a one-stop shop there. You can go there and get lots of information. We also encourage our partners to let us know what's going on. If there's events going on that would be of interest to faculty, to students, skill builders, we promote our partner career development events on this site. And now we're starting to build, because of this information that we're collecting, we're building upon a pretty good repository of resources, again, most important for our faculty and students. Faculty and program support. Well, one of the things that we've been trying to do since we established the BayICT partnership is that one of the quarterly meetings each year is devoted to getting industry input on career paths and the required skills, knowledge, and abilities that those jobs will require. And that then informs our faculty about the student learning outcomes they should be designing in the curriculum. Very important input. We've looked at this for cloud compute. We first started with cybersecurity. We then went to cloud computing. And then the last dive we did was in artificial intelligence data analytics. We get support for this from our centers of excellence. They do a lot of LMI updates. So before those meetings, we update our understanding of what labor market information is for those particular roles. And then we also have a partnership with a National Science Foundation, I guess you would call it Advanced Technological Education Center. They're surprisingly, pretty much ahead of us. They have, for example, they shared with us, they did one of these meetings with their employer advisory, which is a national advisory on artificial intelligence and machine learning. So they gave us gave us a head start on getting that information. The other thing that we do that Ray and I work on are, creating and coordinating industry education partnerships. We have a partner on the call right now with Key Code Media, Matt and Jonathan. Ray has been working with IBM Skills Build. We have very good representation for, from other industry folk like Alteryx, AWS, Google, that participate in partnership and make sure that our faculty have access to any educational curriculum that they provide to colleges and high schools. We also facilitate communities of practice, which we recently split up to one for ICT, and we're building one for digital media. They got started last summer, so we have two communities of practice, and this has really been beneficial in getting the word out about some of the programs that we're doing in this partnership to students. Because one of the things you should be aware of about how we work is our only access, and by us, I mean BayICT and the region, our only access to the students is through faculty and our website. Okay, to get to the students, we depend very highly on the faculty getting the word out and sharing links and information, letting them know that there's information that they can use and resources on the website. We depend on them for that. And then we want to connect our programs again with the partnership. So, for example, in working with Next Gen Cyber Talent, now what we need to do is start to expand that program out to other colleges that have cybersecurity programs. So that's an example. So once we see something that's working in the partnership, this helps us scale our target programs that can take advantage of it. And then we do collaborations for a faculty professional development. We work with the WASTC, Western Academy Training Center. I don't forget what the S is, but the WASP Professional Development every summer does faculty professional development weeks where we do boot camps to keep faculty current on not only topics, but also on curriculum. We've also worked with other partners around faculty professional development, such as AQ, for on inclusive learning environments, etc. So anyway, faculty professional development, very important, and we kind of coordinate that. So here's some examples of the joint projects, and by joint projects I mean they're regional. So we're not working so much with a particular college, but we're working with colleges in our sector, ICT and digital media. The Bay Area Community College has a private cloud. We call it NetLab Plus, and this has really been incredible during COVID, when suddenly the big shift toward having to go online, that private cloud became invaluable by creating and allowing faculty to access labs virtually, providing curriculum resources, from a central spot. So it's been invaluable. We want to continue to use that. We're having to upgrade it now based upon a lot of the things going on in digital media with more heavy duty graphic processors to be able to handle some of the things that we're being asked to do. But we want to continue to do that, because one of the things we're finding and hearing is that there is a, I would call it an initiative, but as we want as many of our courses to be available in what they would call a hybrid or high flex mode, where our students have a choice now as to whether to do their courses online, in person, or a combination of both. And using that environment has really supported that initiative. We work with the Bay Cyber camps. That is a special project at the region. Bay Cyber is a regional joint project that is primarily focused on capture the flag competitions as such for our middle and high school students. And we engage the community college students to work in those camps for the experience of being mentors and setting up the environments. Great program. So we want to expand that and get more K-12 districts involved and more colleges involved in the camps. I mentioned the short duration program. Really, we're starting to hear, I was at an RSA session on Sunday, and one of the employers was saying, we could probably work with the community colleges in helping us upskill our employees, putting together programs that would upskill their employees. So say, for instance, starting with help desk, going into then, heavy duty network management, and then from there into cybersecurity analysts. So great promises there. And we're doing better with pre-apprenticeships and apprenticeships. So I really think that we still have a lot to learn and develop in this area. So we want to keep it keep it in our radar. So we've been working with a couple of colleges on new apprenticeships. And then there's a program right now that just got approved to create a artificial intelligence data analytics model curriculum, and then prepare faculty to deliver it. We are working with Intel and the curriculum that they developed in collaboration with Maricopa College in Phoenix. And we'll be working with a couple of colleges here in the Bay Area to start implementing curriculum in this area. And then we're also creating a regional virtual production academy. We're going to create model curriculum using existing and new curriculum to create certificates and an AS degree in virtual production. And for those of you that aren't familiar with the term virtual production, it's basically the way movies are made now. They use game engine technology to actually create the environments that you see, like in Avatar and Mandalorian. It's all done using game engine software and rendering. Pretty cool stuff. So we've got 8 partner colleges participating in that. It's going to be a collaborative curriculum. And by collaborative, that means that a student can take a class at Mission College, and then if the next class in the sequence isn't available at Mission, they can then take the course at Ohlone or DVC. Okay, so this really increases accessibility. Okay, and at the same time, it also increases enrollment, because if we do the calendar right, that means that everybody gets their chance to teach this class and fill that course. So it's kind of a win-win here. So pretty excited about that one. So those are, very quickly, those are the objectives that we've had. I've listed each one of them in underneath each focus area. Are there any questions about these? These basically, this is what we're doing. So if you have any questions about it, that I can answer or clarify, because what we're going to do next is that I'm sure from each of your perspectives, there are some things that are more important than others, and that's what we want to hear. Okay, we would like you to give, to rate these based upon your goals for the organization that you're represented, whether you're an employer, one of our workforce development partners, whether you're faculty, whether you're a job developer in one of the colleges. We want it from your perspective. So so I want to put it out there now for questions and discussion before we take you to a little quick form to cast your votes or rate each of these.
Yeah, thank you, Olivia, for the breakdown. One thing that kind of really sort of rung through this conversation is that, expanding that K through 14 participation, I feel is going to be very important, and also knowing that's going to open up opportunity for, Perkins funding and all of that stuff too. I think it's very smart to do that. And along with, cyber camps and some of the things that we've talked about, boot camps and, career prep training that's going to get students prepared for industry entry level positions is these are all good primers for that. So
And and I can tell you one of the reasons that it's been difficult is in making those connections is that most of the ICT digital media, well, I'll say ICT curriculum in the K-12 is focused on transfer. So you have AP principles. There's two AP computer science courses. I think one is principles and one is actually, goes into computer science. And then on the flip side, on the digital media side, you have the arts media entertainment academies, is what they're often called in the high schools. And we haven't had a very good connection between those programs until recently. I think we're starting to see doing a better job in the arts, media, and entertainment academies in the high schools. And particularly, it's exciting for those for that area, because I've worked in pathways before, K-12 pathways. And when I would visit the schools and those classes, those AME classes, they were the most diverse. And they actually attracted, kids were really excited about, what they were learning in those courses. And so we have to do a better job of connecting with those. For ICT, though, it's just been difficult. That's why the cyber camps are really important. Because again, as you all know, I should explain to you, is that the BACC is focused on career education. Certainly, we want our programs to always consider the transfer option to 4 years, but our emphasis is on helping our students who need to work get the skills that they need to get jobs now, okay, and as quickly as possible. And certainly we want to see them continue once they get the skills they need to work. We certainly want them to continue on pathways to AS degrees and to potential transfer. Because, one of the things that we were, in 2010, when I started working in community college career education, there were very, very few bachelor's degrees in IT. I think the only people that were offering those were for-profit colleges like Phoenix and DeVry. But now you're starting to see more 4-year degrees in cybersecurity, in information technology. Because I remember also when I started, there were only master's degrees in cybersecurity back in 2010. But now we're starting to see that change. So anyway, there's transfer opportunity. Even though you're starting in career ed, there's transfer opportunities. So don't want to minimize that.
yeah, and there's a thought that came to mind when you were just talking about how to just reach out and sort of make aware or market the idea of the media programs and things like that. Do you have, or do you know of an area like film festival, like are they having student film festivals where students are actually submitting their films and making it like a big event at the end of the year so they can showcase student film projects? And that was one of the things that we did in Glendale through the Career Pathways Trust Grant, is we established a local film festival, and then we invited industry folks to join in on that, to sort of celebrate the students' work. That created a lot of synergy, and started to inspire the younger kids, and that's whenever we started to develop the middle school programs and stuff like that. So just kind of putting that out there as food for thought. And as I listen to you talk about the Unreal Engine and what they're doing with the Mandalorian and the way things are being shot with the video game backgrounds and all of that, it's the technology is always changing and so quickly.
Yeah.
So faculty support there, faculty training is important. And making sure that, I think one thing that we cannot forget is just emphasizing on the fundamentals. All of the technology is great, but that focus on good storytelling skills and developing good solid work ethic, that is going to really ring true, because the technology, you're going to always have to be learning. And I think as the programs are developed, there needs to be sort of a common understanding that in the process, you're always going to be a learner too. And you're sort of driven by that creative energy to continue learning new tools, to tell new stories in different ways. And, the art builds on the technology then is inspired by the art, and it continues this really interesting thing. I mean, we look back, 10, 15 years, you look at things like they were doing in Jurassic Park, and now that they're doing, with the Mandalorian, and how a lot of that fed into what they're doing now. And it's just been this, and there's an interesting throwback to practical filmmaking, just getting a camera in there.
Yeah.
Oh, it's interesting. You look at the new Top Gun movie, I don't know if you've seen it, but those pilots, the actors were flying in the jets, like for real, and camera technology is so small now. You can get cameras in places where you couldn't before, and it was very difficult.
Yeah.
So that's interesting too, and just some things to think about.
Well, I'll admit I'm new to the digital media side of the sector, and I dived in last summer, because I think one of the things that we have not been doing in the region is our regional directors in the past basically gave a caveat: I don't do digital media. And so we haven't had a lot of focus. So I'm just learning that about what's going on. I hear about individual colleges doing those kind of film festivals. And one of the things that we did last summer, we planned the return of the Digital Media Educators Conference. I think you participated in that. And we gathered, work from all of our students and had a gallery theme, and folk got to see the work, when they came to this virtual conference. They could kind of walk through galleries of student work, and it was just incredible. So
Yeah,
I'm really excited to be getting involved with that. And I think one of the things too is that we really do want to figure out how we scale some of the things that some colleges may be doing around events like that.
yeah.
And that's part of what we do. That's part of our role too. We try to find best practices, share them out, see how we can collaborate. So that's a very good example.
Yeah, celebrating that student work and student achievement is really important for them to continue gaining confidence and taking that next step and moving on to
And the other thing, real quick, and we'll move on, that you pointed out is that for all of our employers and all of our different disciplines, one of the things that we are hearing is that, great, you're getting the technical skills, but that's not often what's going to get you hired. Okay. And it's life skills, it's professional skills, it's communication skills. And there's two areas where we can address that. That's with engaging our professionals and organizations and employers with the students so that they can get some exposure as mentees, as people just coming into the work environment to start to understand what that's all about. But at the same time, we have to train our faculty. We have to make sure that our faculty understand that how do they help their students get that kind of experience as part of the curriculum. A lot of time it's just not even included. And so we have to make sure we do more around that. For example, as I mentioned, one of the professional development programs was how do you create an inclusive, welcoming online environment for all students? And that begins to model the kind of behaviors, and things that are going to be expected in the workplace, even in the classroom, you can take out. So.
There's a key part of that I know you and I have talked about this kind of thing where there's like intentions, and then there's how do we just do whatever the world needs us to do, right? So like taking a class is not going to be the kind of thing that's going to help somebody get a job, but taking the certification test that you can pass from taking the class, the certification can get you a job, right?
Right.
Those feel like sort of muscle memory we need to be building. You know what I mean? Like and this is weird, like in cybersecurity area, you can take a networking security class and you actually will be able to do the job better, but nobody cares if you took the class. They care whether you pass the CCNA exam, right? Those feel like the kinds of things that we need to be like doubling and tripling down on, right? So yeah, take a class that says I know something about cloud technologies, and then pass the exam that ends up saying I have the Amazon cloud certified practitioner certification, right? That thing there feels like there's a partly it's between like how do we help get funding for stuff like that, partly it's making the students realize that nobody really cares about your class. That's how you feel about yourself. That's how you build your ability to do the job sort of holistically. If you don't take the test, however, you're going to have a hard time getting a job from it, right? And there seems to be a connection that we need to be doing more of how do I get people who had the motivation to go back to school, they had the drive to go do these things, and just connect them to the possibilities that get opened up from the test, which is not that test, the certification test is not delivered through a community college, right? So it's almost like we're preparing them to do something that's a third-party thing that actually connects them to now you can literally do job searches for that certification, right?
Right. And I've worked with Steve Nelson and I have worked together on this because we've had partnerships with funding that will pay for students to sit for those exams. And by the way, for those of you don't know, most of our career education programs, I know for sure in ICT, the focus is on preparing students to sit for industry certifications. That is, if your curriculum does that, it's almost a fast track for approval. So, but Steve, as you point out, we're not paying, they have to go take the test and they have to get the funding and the cost of taking that test. But there's funding out there,
Yeah, Olivia.
that can be done. Yeah.
So, we have a small run of the Tech SF program now at City College, and Tech SF through OEWD at the city is paying for A+ certification with a hugely successful online prep program. And then we also have the 2 classes that go with that. And then we have Network Plus, CompTIA Network Plus, and Security Plus. And my sense is that we can advocate with City College Workforce and OEWD to get other certifications, recognized as something that we could offer along with the academic pathway, pay for, and I don't know who that was talking, but it'd be great to get CCNA on there and cloud practitioner on there. But yeah, I agree with Olivia. There are ways, if we can do those first 4 certificates, I don't see why we can't do some other ones.
And as Steve points out, I think once, to actually take that test, sit for it and successfully pass it is a confidence builder. And so you just, you keep going with it, you keep upskilling in those certificates.
And here's an interesting fact. Our last AWS cloud practitioner course at City College last semester, not this one that just went by. Had 12, of the 30 odd students pass the AWS Cloud Practitioner exam,
Awesome.
along with the instructor.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
Yeah, that's absolutely fantastic, because now those people are able to actually like do resume searches, job searches for
Yeah.
things that require that kind of certification.
yeah, and I'm getting a lot more asks from employers for certifications, and more than I've ever seen before in terms of just, that being in demand. If I send somebody, a student who has a class but not a certification, they're like, why didn't they take the certification? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Lauren, are you there? Can you put the link to the form in the chat? If you're there. I didn't. pull
There
it.
was a standby that came through in the chat.
Okay. There we go. All right. Very good. So this is basically this form lists these 20 objectives, things that we're doing. And it shouldn't take you but maybe 2 or 3 minutes just to go and say, rate them either high, medium, or low. And we can, watch the responses as they come in. And then we're going to take that as input, because as I mentioned before, Ray and I have to figure out how we're going to do this. And one thing for sure that's very important is this partnership. We will continue to facilitate this in some way. To give you guys the news, I wanted to wait to the end that I am not going to be that RD. Ray will probably be in the role until things really kind of settle in as far as the reorganization. But I will probably be doing pieces of this work. That's our hope. But that's one of the reasons we want to get them prioritized, because let's be upfront with you. We just don't know how we're going to structure it, fund it, etc. But we want to get our input from y'all as to what you felt was most important, so that we can then take that and make our case.
Olivia, I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, I thought I was on camera too there. Hi, I just had a quick question. I did drop a question in the chat, and it's a little off topic, and it may not even be, I don't know how it connects with this group, but I'm certain that there are at least resources to connect with to meet immediate talent needs. But also I wanted to ask, are you involved, or any of the members of the BayICT involved with the grant that is due this Monday, the one that I presented in the EBIATC meeting? We didn't get a chance to get to it on the agenda item, but
What is the grant?
it's the EDA challenge grant.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Are you involved with that
Well,
already?
we were approached several months ago to be a partner for several of those grants. And we did agree. I think there were 3 of them that we agreed to be a part of. One of them involved, I do believe, one of the East Bay work for. Let me get back to it. Yes, we were approached to be. There was a term for it, the kind of partner. God, I'm sorry. It was it was a couple of months ago. But let me get back to you, Darlene. Yes, we raised our hand and said, yes, you can include us in your grant as a partner.
Okay. Okay.
So let me find out who they are, and I'll send to you who we agreed to partner with.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you.
So let's see, there's the form. Lauren has put it in there. And so I'm going to go there as well and turn on Oh, you know what, Lauren, I tell you what, I can't pull up the responses. You may be able to.
1 second.
And I will gonna make you a co-host, so you can do that.
Looks like we've just got 4 responses in so far. Let me share my screen.
All right, thank you.
All right, so high priority is going to be, so far we are in the ranks for connecting partners with collaborations, and next up would be identifying and engaging new partners.
Cool.
As far as
So I just wanted to show you all that this is how we're going to collect this data. So while you all are completing this, do any of you, did I miss any other questions in the chat? You know, Darlene had one. Let me go and check.
oh, I think we just covered that one.
Darlene, you said, does this partnership connect trained students to employment? Yes, that is a main goal. So one of the things, if an employer has an immediate need, or they have a job that we're looking to, they're looking to fill, some of us, any or one of us would get a notification, and then on our website we have student resources, and under that are jobs and workplace learning opportunities. So again, and the other thing that we do when we get those notifications is we also send the notice out to the faculty, so that they can announce it in their classes and let students know that there's an opportunity out there.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. I'll be sure to share with you one of the employers that is in need of an immediate hire.
Okay, great. That
Thank
would be
you.
great. Because these are, I tell you, getting the getting the experience is just so important. One of the things that came up, you know, we're also looking for, and Darlene, this might be another thing that we can talk about, is that I heard about an opportunity where there is Berkeley is putting together what they call cyber clinics. And they would like our cyber students to work with nonprofits and small businesses around their cyber hygiene, you know, protecting their environments, et cetera. And it gives our students that kind of experience. And so it's these kind of connections that you get to know who's looking for what. And through that, you can find, you know, they may be working pro bono for the nonprofit, but they may get connected to an employer. So that's our whole thing. I mean, we really don't do, in my opinion, as good of a job as I would like to see in making those connections, because we're still working with that perception issue around community college students and what skill levels that they have. So we look for all of those opportunities to do that.
Okay, well, we'll definitely, I know that we'll talk and follow up on how to align and identifying those areas that we can support one another. I don't know if you're working with the the Berkeley labs, but we're working with them. Okay.
Yeah, they are on City College of San Francisco's advisory, right, Steve? And I know they also work with Contra Costa College. They're very supportive of our programs. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
excellent.
And they now have they're going for a huge grant to expand their internship programs. I just had them at our employer advisory meeting last night, and they're really hopefully branching out, provide a lot more opportunities for students, making it all much more accessible. We placed 5 interns there this semester.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, and we were doing the same in collaboration and had invited them to discuss RFP partnerships. They had a big ransomware attack there at the university and looking at developing some cybersecurity programs, but I don't think that that quite made it off the ground. But it sounds like a great possible initiative, especially since their department is relatively young with regards to the internships. The only thing is that their internships are only tied to the college, not necessarily community training, IT pathways that are not attached to a degree or a college student or a college enrollment. Um, but I definitely want to talk more and look at how,
Okay,
we align.
definitely. And
Thank you.
I don't want to let you go, but Steve, I see your question here. Yes, NextGen will pay for a student's certificate if they can show that they passed it. In other words, it's almost like reimbursing them. So if they can show that they passed the AWS, there's a list of certifications. I can share those with you. So not only completion of the classes, but if they can show that they successfully sat for an cybersecurity related industry certificate, they'll get paid for that. And I do want to hear, Steve, I would definitely want to talk to you about the mentoring pilot at CNET. I definitely want to hear more about that. Matt?
Yeah, thank you, Olivia. This is kind of to Darlene's question, does this partnership connect trained students to employment? And then this is just speaking from KeyCode's perspective. We're developing some training for faculty and for the students to gain entry-level position as post coordinators and assistant editors. But the one thing, I just had a meeting with our CEO 2 days ago, and he's very much invested in creating that pipeline, because we'll have, the nature of our business is the parent company will do a lot of technical setup with the systems and making sure people can use the systems that they're building. But then they'll say, hey, do you know of anyone that's looking, we need to hire, 10 or 15 assistant editors for this, new TV show. So we're very much interested in identifying those top performers where we can move them through the system. And part of that training is, is the soft skills. It's understanding what it takes to be a professional and work within the industry. So I can speak from our standpoint. Our CEO is very motivated to do that. And I feel that that's very important as these programs move forward, especially for some of the, the sub-regional directors where they're working to, solidify some of those partnerships, is to make sure that they're having that conversation with employers. The certification is great, but connecting them to that opportunity where that resume, boom, gets handed over and that certification is right on top of the pile is huge. So developing those relationships and partnerships, and then, not being afraid to ask employers, hey, can we set up an internship program? Would you be willing to work with us to develop a pipeline where students can confidently move through a system, knowing they're going to get that entry-level position to where they can move up and expand and, hopefully learn a bunch of transferable skills if needed, and they can start building a career, which is,
and I would really like to see those kind of programs integrated into the, I'm talking about your training and employment integrated into our college program. So it's just part of it's part of the program, the certification, the preparation, the introduction into employment. That's the optimum. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And when Stephen was talking about the the CCNA, that is great. It's kind of, that certification, but then having that industry partner say, vet that certification and say, this person really is ready. That does make that is kind of where the rubber meets the road, and that's going to get that student plugged into an opportunity. Really is what we're creating, opportunities for success.
Yeah.
You know, I think, which is really fun.
Well, I want to thank you all for going a little bit past, and then hopefully you all, those of you who are still here, did complete the form. We really appreciate the input. These calls are recorded, and by the way, that's another thing. We archive our meetings on the website. If you want to go back and take a look, I think that the last one was just fabulous. We had all of our partners on board talking about how they've worked with us and together. And so if you hadn't checked out our March meeting, will really tell you a lot about what we've been doing. So anyway, I want to let you go. Thank you so much for attending. We really appreciate your feedback. This has been a crazy week. There's been conferences going on. It's the end of the semester. So I really appreciate y'all taking the time and showing up here today. It's very valuable to us.
All right. Thank you, Olivia.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
See
you for
y'all.
having me.
Thanks a
Bye-bye.
lot.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you.